Welcome to World Famous Persons Hub, the channel where we explore the real life stories of the most famous and influential people from around the world. On this channel, we don't just talk about success, we share the complete journey, the struggles, the dreams, the rise, the fall, and the legacy of world changing personalities. Our goal is to help you understand who these people truly were behind the fame, the headlines, and the spotlight. If you enjoy learning about the lives of great personalities, their achievements, and the lessons hidden in their stories, then you are in the right place. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments, because your support helps us grow and bring more inspiring stories to you. Today, we are going to talk about a personality who changed the world of music forever. A man whose voice crossed borders, whose dance moves became timeless, and whose name is known in every corner of the world. Today's story is about Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Michael Jackson was not just a singer or a dancer. He was a global phenomenon, a cultural icon, and one of the most influential artists in human history. From a small house in Gary, Indiana, to the biggest stages on earth, his journey was filled with talent, hard work, pain, success, and mystery. In this video, we will take you deep into his life. We will talk about his childhood, his rise to fame, his achievements, his personal struggles, his family life, and the legacy he left behind. This is not just a story of fame, but a story of a human being who lived under extraordinary pressure and still created magic that lives on forever. So sit back, relax, and join us on this unforgettable journey through the life of Michael Jackson, only on World Famous Persons Hub. Michael Jackson's story begins before he was born, with two people who would shape his life in very different ways: his father, Joseph Jackson, and his mother, Katherine Jackson. Joseph Jackson, often called Joe, was a hardworking man who loved music and dreamed of success beyond the small steel town where he lived. He played the guitar and believed strongly in discipline, rules, and practice, thinking that hard work was the only path to a better life. Katherine Jackson was gentle, caring, and deeply religious, with a soft singing voice and a heart full of patience. She loved her children very much and tried to protect them with kindness, prayer, and warmth, even when life was difficult. Joseph and Katherine lived in Gary, Indiana, a noisy factory town filled with smoke, machines, and long working hours. Their house was small and simple, but it was always full of children, sounds, and movement. One by one, children were born into the Jackson family, each bringing new joy and new responsibility. First came Rebby, then Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Latoya, and Marlon, who had a twin brother named Brandon, who sadly died shortly after birth. The family felt both happiness and sorrow, and these emotions taught them how precious life could be. On August 29th, 1958, another baby was born, and his name was Michael. Michael was small and quiet, with big, curious eyes that seemed to watch everything around him. When Catherine held Michael for the first time, she felt a gentle calm, as if this child carried a special light inside him. Joseph looked at his growing family and felt both pride and worry, knowing it was not easy to feed and care for so many children. As the years passed, more children joined the family, including Randy and later little Janet, making the house even louder and fuller. Music slowly became a part of everyday life in the Jackson home. Catherine sang softly while doing housework, filling the rooms with peaceful melodies. Joseph noticed that his sons loved rhythm and sound, tapping on tables, clapping hands, and humming tunes. He decided to teach them music, believing it could be their way out of poverty. The boys practiced in the living room, over and over again, learning to sing together and follow rhythm. Michael was very young, but he watched his brothers closely and copied everything they did. One day, Michael sang a few notes, and everyone stopped to listen. His voice was clear, sweet, and full of feeling, even though he was only a small child. Catherine smiled with pride, feeling that something beautiful had just begun. Joseph became very serious and decided that Michael should sing more, practice more, and stand in front. Michael did not fully understand what was happening, but he trusted his parents and followed their instructions. Soon, the brothers formed a group, singing together at small shows and local events. Michael was shy, but when he sang, his fear seemed to disappear. Music became both his safe place and his responsibility. As Michael grew older, he practiced almost every day, even when he felt tired. Sometimes he wished he could go outside and play like other children, but rehearsals always came first. His brothers teased him sometimes, but they also loved him and protected him. Catherine often hugged Michael at night, telling him stories and reminding him that God loved him. These quiet moments helped Michael feel safe in a busy and demanding world. When Michael was still very young, the group began to perform more often, and people noticed them. They traveled to new places, sang on stages, and met strangers who applauded them. Michael felt excited and scared at the same time. He liked making people smile, but he missed home and normal life. As years passed, Michael grew from a little boy into a young teenager. By the time he reached the age of 10, the world already knew his name. Fans screamed when they saw him, and cameras followed him everywhere. Michael smiled on the outside, but inside he was still a child trying to understand fame. When Michael turned 12, his life became even busier. School was often replaced by rehearsals, recordings, and performances. He learned lessons not from classrooms, but from stages and studios. Joseph continued to push the children to be better, believing that success required sacrifice. Catherine worried about Michael's happiness and prayed for his safety every day. At night, Michael sometimes lay awake, thinking about who he really was. He loved music, but he also loved stories, cartoons, and dreams. As Michael approached the age of 15, his body and voice began to change. This frightened him because his voice was a big part of who he was. He worried that people might stop loving him if he was no longer the little boy with the high voice. Catherine comforted him, telling him that growing up was natural and that his heart mattered more than his voice. Michael listened, but fear still lived quietly inside him. At 15, Michael was already wiser than many adults. He had seen crowds cheering and reporters questioning him. He had learned how fame could bring joy and pain at the same time. Yet, he was still gentle, kind, and full of imagination. He loved animals, especially ones that needed care and protection. He believed deeply in love, kindness, and making the world a better place. Michael often thought about children who were lonely or sad because he understood those feelings well. Even as a teenager, he dreamed of building a place where children could laugh and feel safe. His brothers were growing too, each finding their own path. The family was changing, just like Michael was changing. Joseph still focused on success, planning the next steps. Catherine still focused on love, hoping her children would stay kind. Michael stood between these two worlds, learning from both. At 15, Michael was no longer just a little boy, but he was not yet a grown man. He was standing at the edge of something new and unknown. He did not know exactly where his journey would lead, but deep inside, his heart was full of music, dreams, and hope. Michael Jackson was 15 years old when he stood at a very important turning point in his life, caught between childhood fame and the uncertain world of adulthood. His voice was changing, his body was growing, and inside his heart there was both fear and excitement about what the future might bring. The Jackson Five were still famous, but Michael began to feel that something inside him wanted more freedom and self-expression. He started to think deeply about who he was, not just as a group member, but as an individual artist with his own dreams. At this age, Michael spent long hours listening to different kinds of music, learning from great performers, and imagining new sounds. He admired artists who told stories through music and dance, and he wanted to do the same in his own way. Even though millions loved him, Michael often felt lonely because few people truly understood his inner world. As he grew older, he became more thoughtful and sensitive, noticing the pain, injustice, and sadness in the world around him. These feelings slowly began to shape his music and his desire to create something meaningful. In his late teenage years, Michael began working on solo projects while still being part of the family group. This period was not easy because he felt pressure to succeed and fear of failure at the same time. He worked tirelessly in recording studios, sometimes staying awake all night to perfect a single note or rhythm. Music became his way of speaking to the world when words felt too difficult. When Michael was around 20 years old, he released music that showed his growth and maturity as an artist. He wanted people to see him not as a child star, but as a serious musician with something important to say. This desire led to the creation of his album Off the Wall, which marked a powerful new beginning in his life. The album was filled with energy, joy, and emotion, and it showed how far Michael had come. Audiences around the world responded with love, and the album became a great success. Despite this success, Michael felt that he still had not reached his full potential. He believed that he could create something even bigger, something that could touch people everywhere. During his early 20s, Michael became extremely focused and disciplined. He studied dance moves, practiced vocals, and watched films to learn about storytelling and movement. He believed that every detail mattered, and he refused to accept anything less than excellence. This intense dedication sometimes made him tired and isolated, but he felt driven by a powerful inner voice. At the age of 24, Michael began working on an album that would later change his life and the world of music forever. He spent months experimenting with sounds, rhythms, and ideas, pushing himself beyond his limits. When the album Thriller was released, it felt like magic spreading across the globe. People of all ages, cultures, and backgrounds listened to his music and felt connected through it. Michael's music videos became events that people waited for with excitement and wonder. His dancing amazed the world, especially when he performed the moonwalk, which became instantly famous. Michael was no longer just a singer, but a global symbol of creativity and innovation. As he moved through his mid-20s, fame reached a level that few humans had ever experienced. Crowds followed him everywhere, cameras flashed constantly, and his name was known in every country. While the world celebrated him, Michael struggled privately with the weight of constant attention. He found it hard to trust people and missed having simple friendships. He often escaped into imagination, music, and fantasy to feel safe and free. Despite the pressure, Michael used his voice to speak about love, unity, and healing. He believed deeply that music could bring people together and make the world kinder. In his late 20s, Michael continued to grow as an artist and a human being. He worked on new albums, explored deeper themes, and tried to express his emotions honestly. Songs during this time reflected his inner struggles, hopes, and dreams. He became more aware of his role as a global figure and felt responsibility toward his fans. Michael also began to focus more on helping others, especially children who were sick, poor, or lonely. He visited hospitals, donated money, and supported charities, often without telling anyone. Helping others brought him comfort and reminded him of the kindness he wanted to see in the world. As Michael approached the age of 30, he stood as one of the most successful artists in history. Yet inside, he was still searching for peace, understanding, and true happiness. He reflected on his journey from a shy child in a small house to a man known by millions. He carried memories of joy, pain, love, and sacrifice, all woven into his music. Michael knew that his life had been unusual and challenging, but he also knew it was filled with purpose. At 30 years old, he was still evolving, still dreaming, and still creating. Michael Jackson entered his 30s as one of the most famous and influential people on earth, carrying both the glory of unmatched success and the heavy weight of global attention. At the age of 30, he was already a legend, yet he still felt like a student of music, always searching for new sounds, deeper meaning, and greater perfection. During this time, he released the album Bad, which showed a stronger and more confident version of himself and proved that his success was not an accident. Bad produced multiple number 1 hits and helped Michael set records that no artist had achieved before. His Bad World Tour took him across many countries where millions of fans came together to see him perform live. The tour broke attendance records and showed the world that his popularity had only grown stronger with age. Behind the scenes, however, Michael was becoming more isolated, as fame made it difficult for him to live a normal life. He trusted very few people and often felt misunderstood by the media and the public. As he moved into his early 30s, Michael became more aware of social problems and global suffering. This awareness deeply influenced his music and inspired him to create songs about peace, healing, and unity. In the early 1990s, he released the album Dangerous, which reflected a more serious and emotional side of his personality. The album included powerful messages and innovative sounds that again pushed music forward. Michael also launched the Dangerous World Tour, which raised millions of dollars for charity. He donated much of his earnings to help children, hospitals, and humanitarian causes around the world. At the same time, Michael built a place called Neverland Ranch, which was designed as a dreamland filled with amusement rides, animals, and joy. Neverland was meant to be a place of happiness and safety, especially for children who needed laughter and care. Michael believed that childhood innocence was precious and deserved protection. During his mid-30s, Michael faced some of the most difficult challenges of his life. He became the subject of serious accusations that shocked the world and deeply hurt him. Although these events caused great damage to his reputation and emotional health, Michael always maintained his innocence. The stress from these situations affected his physical and mental well-being. Despite the pain, he continued to create music and express his feelings through art. In 1995, he released the album History, which was deeply personal and emotional. The album reflected his anger, sadness, strength, and desire to be understood. His story became one of the best-selling albums of his career and showed that his connection with fans remained strong. The A Story World Tour once again filled stadiums and brought people together through music. As Michael entered his late 30s, his appearance and lifestyle continued to attract intense media attention. Many stories were written about him, some true and many exaggerated or false. Michael felt hurt by the way he was portrayed and often spoke about feeling like a prisoner of fame. He found comfort in music, spirituality, and helping others. In 2001, at the age of 43, Michael released the album Invincible. The album showed his maturity as an artist and included modern sounds mixed with his classic style. Although it achieved commercial success, it did not receive the same level of promotion as his earlier work. Michael felt disappointed but continued to believe in his art. Throughout his 40s, he made fewer public appearances and lived a quieter life. He spent more time with his children, whom he loved deeply, and wanted to protect from the pressures of fame. Being a father brought him joy and gave him a sense of purpose and responsibility. Michael often spoke about wanting to give his children the love and care he felt he missed in his own childhood. Despite stepping back from the spotlight, his influence never faded. His music continued to sell, inspire, and shape new generations of artists. Awards, honors, and recognitions continued to come from around the world. Michael Jackson became the most awarded artist in music history, with hundreds of awards to his name. He was recognized for breaking racial barriers, changing music videos forever, and uniting people through sound and movement. As he approached 50, Michael began planning a major comeback. He announced a series of concerts called This Is It, which were meant to be his return to the stage. Fans around the world were excited and hopeful to see him perform once again. Michael trained hard for the shows, rehearsing singing and dancing despite physical exhaustion. He wanted the performances to be perfect and memorable. Michael Jackson's personal life was often discussed as much as his music, and many stories about his marriages, children, appearance, and controversies became part of public conversation around the world. Michael Jackson was married 2 times during his life. His first wife was Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of legendary singer Elvis Presley. They married in 1994, surprising the world, because many people did not expect the King of Pop to marry the daughter of the King of Rock and Roll. Michael said that Lisa Marie gave him emotional support during a very difficult time in his life. Their relationship was intense, but also fragile. They cared for each other, but their personalities and lifestyles were very different. After about 2 years, the marriage ended in divorce in 1996. Michael later said that he wanted children and a peaceful family life, but the relationship could not last. His second wife was Debbie Rowe, whom he married in 1996. Debbie Rowe worked as a nurse and was much more private than Michael. From this marriage, Michael became a father to 2 children. His first child, Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., was born in 1997 and is often called Prince. His second child, Paris Michael Catherine Jackson, was born in 1998. Michael loved both children deeply and often spoke about how becoming a father changed his life. However, the marriage to Debbie Rowe did not last long, and they divorced in 1999. Despite the divorce, Michael continued to raise his children with great care and protection. In 2002, Michael had a third child, Prince Michael Jackson II, often called Blanket, now known as Biggie. The identity of the mother was never publicly revealed because Michael wanted to protect privacy. Michael was extremely protective of all his children. He tried to keep them away from cameras and media pressure as much as possible. He often covered their faces in public, which led to criticism, but he explained that he wanted them to have a normal childhood. Michael said many times that his children were the greatest joy of his life. Now, regarding scandals, Michael Jackson's life included some of the most talked about controversies in entertainment history. In the early 1990s, Michael was accused of inappropriate behavior toward a child. These accusations shocked the world and deeply affected him emotionally and professionally. Michael strongly denied all accusations and maintained his innocence throughout his life. The case was settled without an admission of guilt, and no criminal conviction occurred at that time. Years later, in 2003, Michael faced another major accusation and legal trial. He was arrested and charged, which brought intense media attention and public pressure. In 2005, after a long and very public trial, Michael Jackson was found not guilty on all charges. The verdict cleared him legally, but the damage to his image and mental health remained deep. Michael said these experiences broke his trust in the world and made him feel hunted and misunderstood. Despite being cleared by the court, public opinions remained divided, and media scrutiny never stopped. Michael also faced criticism for his lifestyle, friendships, and childlike behavior. He explained that his love for children came from losing his own childhood and wanting to give joy and safety to others. Another major topic was Michael Jackson's skin color change, which confused and shocked many people. Many rumors claimed that he tried to change his race, but this was not true. Michael Jackson had a medical condition called vitiligo. Vitiligo causes the skin to lose pigment, resulting in white patches that spread over time. Michael publicly confirmed this condition in the early 1990s. Autopsy reports after his death also confirmed that he had vitiligo. Because the skin color loss was uneven, Michael used makeup and medical treatments to even out his skin tone. As the condition progressed, his skin appeared much lighter than before. This medical condition, along with stage lighting, makeup, and changing fashion styles, made the change appear more dramatic. Michael said many times that he was proud of his heritage and never wanted to be anything other than who he was. He also suffered from lupus, another medical condition that affected his skin and health. Despite explaining these conditions, many people continued to misunderstand or judge him. Michael Jackson lived much of his life under extreme pressure, constant rumors, and intense public judgment. Through marriages, fatherhood, accusations, and health struggles, he remained deeply sensitive and emotional. He believed in love, innocence, and healing, even when the world treated him harshly. Michael Jackson's personal life was complex and sometimes tragic, but it does not erase his artistic greatness. He remains remembered as a loving father, a misunderstood human being, and one of the most influential artists who ever lived. Michael Jackson was one of the highest-earning entertainers in human history, both during his life and after his death. During his lifetime, he earned money from music sales, concerts, music videos, merchandising, publishing rights, endorsements, and business investments. At the peak of his career, especially in the 1980s and early 1990s, Michael Jackson was earning hundreds of millions of dollars. His album Thriller alone generated over $1 billion worldwide when album sales, videos, merchandise, and licensing are included. By the late 1980s, Michael Jackson had become the richest musician in the world. He owned luxurious homes, rare art, jewelry, costumes, and one of the most valuable music catalogs ever created. One of his smartest business decisions was buying music publishing rights instead of only earning from performances. In 1985, Michael Jackson purchased the ATV Music Publishing catalog, which included the rights to many songs by the Beatles and other major artists. He paid about $47.5 million for this catalog. Over time, this catalog became worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Later, this catalog merged with Sony's publishing company, creating Sony ATV, one of the most valuable music publishing businesses in the world. Michael Jackson owned 50% of Sony ATV. This single asset eventually became worth over $1 billion. Michael also earned huge income from world tours such as Bad, Dangerous, and History, which generated hundreds of millions of dollars. He earned money from TV broadcasts, VHS and DVD sales, royalties, radio play, and brand deals. Despite his massive earnings, Michael Jackson also spent enormous amounts of money. He lived an extremely expensive lifestyle. Neverland Ranch alone cost several million dollars per year to maintain. He spent heavily on staff, security, travel, charity donations, art, antiques, animals, and medical care. Michael was also very generous and donated over $300 million to charities during his lifetime. Legal battles, settlements, and business loans also reduced his available cash. By the early 2000s, Michael Jackson faced serious financial stress, despite still owning valuable assets. At the time of his death in 2009, many people were shocked to learn that he was deeply in debt. Estimates suggest that when Michael Jackson died, he had debts of around $400 to $500 million. This debt came from loans taken against his assets, legal costs, and living expenses. However, his assets were far greater than his debts, even though they were not liquid cash. At the time of his death, Michael Jackson's estate value was estimated between $1 and $2 billion. After his death, something remarkable happened. Michael Jackson became the highest earning dead celebrity in history. From 2009 onward, his estate earned hundreds of millions of dollars every year. His music sales exploded again, and new fans discovered his work. Concert films, documentaries, merchandise, licensing, and streaming brought in massive income. In 2016, Michael Jackson's estate sold its 50% stake in Sony ATV for about $750 million. That single sale eliminated most debts and created enormous profit for the estate. Since his death, Michael Jackson's estate has earned over $2.5 to $3 billion in total revenue. This makes him the most financially successful artist of all time, even after death. Today, his wealth is managed by the Michael Jackson Estate, which controls his music, image, and brand. The estate supports his children and continues charitable work in his name. Michael Jackson's children did not inherit cash immediately, but they benefit from trusts and long-term income from the estate. Michael Jackson proved that true artistic value does not fade with time. Even years after his passing, his music continues to generate wealth, influence culture, and inspire the world. His financial story is a powerful lesson that great talent can create lasting value, even beyond a lifetime. Michael Jackson remains not only the king of pop, but also one of the wealthiest and most powerful brands in entertainment history. However, the pressure to prepare for the concerts took a serious toll on his health. Michael struggled with sleep and relied on medical assistance to rest. On June 25, 2009, the world received shocking and heartbreaking news. Michael Jackson had died at the age of 50 in Los Angeles, California. His death was caused by acute intoxication from powerful medications, including propofol, which was given to him to help him sleep. The news spread quickly, and millions of people around the world went into mourning. Fans gathered in streets, homes, and public places, playing his music and sharing memories. Television channels paused regular programs to honor his life and legacy. Michael's death reminded the world of both his greatness and his vulnerability. A public memorial service was held where family, friends, and fans said goodbye. His music filled the air as people cried, sang, and remembered the joy he brought into their lives. Michael Jackson was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. His grave is located inside the Great Mausoleum, in a section known as Holly Terrace. The resting place is private, peaceful, and protected, honoring the legacy of a man who gave so much to the world. Even after his death, Michael Jackson's influence did not fade. His albums returned to the top of the charts, and new generations discovered his music. His dance moves continued to inspire performers across the globe. Michael Jackson's life from 30 to his final day was a journey of brilliance, struggle, love, pain, and hope. He experienced the highest levels of success and some of the deepest personal challenges. Yet through everything, He remained devoted to music, creativity, and the belief that love could heal the world. Michael Jackson will always be remembered not only as the king of pop, but as a human being whose life touched millions and whose legacy will live forever.